In part 1 of this series, we discussed how healing sounds and mantra vibration can help heal organs and activate the dantian or chakras. In this video, we will explore the mystical aspect of the mantras. Mantras serve not only as healing tools, but also as a means to connect with higher realms or divine beings. Many mantras are simply the name of deities, saints, gods, or bodhisattva. One of the most popular mantras in China is Namo Amituofo. Namo expresses respect or homage, while Amitabha refers to Amitabha Buddha, the Buddha of infinite light. According to the Amitabha Sutra, Amitabha Buddha used his immense mind power to create a special realm known as the Pure Land, an ideal environment for spiritual practitioner where beings are free from any physical sufferings, like hunger, sickness, crime, extreme weather, and natural disasters. This refuge allows practitioners to focus entirely on spiritual advancement, eventually leading to Buddhahood. The sutras state that if one chants Amitabha's name continuously with unwavering focus for 49 days, they will be reborn in the Pure Land after death. However, the sutra does not specify how many hours per day one must chant. Even chanting for just a few hours without any distracting thoughts is extremely difficult already, let alone maintaining this state for 49 consecutive days. In reality, practitioners must chant daily for many years, possibly a few decades, to have a genuine chance to attaining this goal. And I believe this is the idea. After you keep chanting this mantra for a few million times, which will just take about a decade or two to achieve, there will be a good chance for you to build up a connection with Amitabha's Pure Land. Imagine you're like a radio tower. When you chant a mantra, you are creating a specific vibration, sending out a specific frequency. When this frequency matches exactly with the Pure Land, you establish a connection. Usually at first, the connection may last for just a split second, because the vibration you send out is not stable, as you are still fine-tuning the exact frequency during this practice. Historically, a few monks claimed that they were able to have a glimpse of the Pure Land during their practice, and what they saw matches with the sutra's descriptions. By chanting this mantra daily for the rest of your life, even if you are not able to establish a stable connection during your lifetime, this mantra will likely be imprinted into your soul. So at the moment you die, your soul still have a very good chance of remembering this mantra, which is like the passcode for granting you access to the Pure Land. Now you may understand why I said at the start of the part 1 video that many masters ask their students to chant or recite a specific mantra 100,000 times or even a million times as a start. And this is what practitioner needs nowadays. The modern era is very different from the old times. We now have easy access to so many things, including different spiritual and energy practices, as well as mantras. While this is good, it also has a side effect. For example, a student may chant a mantra for a few weeks, then decide it gets boring or doesn't feel like it. So they search for another mantra they have more feel for, practice that for a while, then lose that original feeling, and search again for another one, and so on. They don't have dedication to anything. That's why I find many students know many things nowadays, yet their level remains not very high. One may ask, hey, how about I just listen to the mantra daily instead of chanting it by myself? Well, there are chanting MP3 players available. Their effect is minimal. You need to be the radio tower yourself to send out the signals. My master once told me that whenever he had guests stay overnight at his house, he needed to chant some mantra to cleanse the energy of the room they stayed in after they left. He has experimented by recording his own chanting and playing the recording in the guest room instead. He said the recording was only able to retain a few percentage of the original spiritual power from his chant. But perhaps because he could keep playing it 24/7, it still had some cleansing effect after a few days, better than nothing. Since we were talking about the Amitabha mantra, it reminds me of a famous Zen story, which I believe is a true story. One day an accomplished monk walked past a small hut and noticed the hut was radiating golden light, so he decided to visit. He found an old lady chanting something inside the hut and realized that's why it was shining with golden light. After the grandma finished chanting, she was delighted by the monk's visit and offered him tea. During tea time, the monk asked, "What were you chanting?" The grandma humbly replied, "Oh, a few months ago I visited a temple, and the monk there said it's good to chant Namo Amituofo, so I keep chanting it every day." The monk praised her dedication, but corrected her by saying, "Oh, that's very good, but the mantra should be pronounced as Namo Amituofo." The grandma was very happy that the monk corrected her. However, a few days later, when the monk passed by the same hut again, he heard the chanting but saw no golden light. Concerned, he visited the grandma and found that she was delighted by his visit and even checked with him to see if her pronunciation was now correct. Yet the monk felt terrible because he realized that his correction had perhaps shaken her confidence and ruined her original chanting rhythm, thus breaking the spiritual connection. Even though he asked the grandma to chant the old way again, the golden light never returned. So you see, the correctness of the pronunciation is not that important, like I said at the beginning. Being mindful and having faith is more important. As you can see from this Zen story, it is also important to find your own rhythm in chanting, which leads to another question. Can I sing the mantra instead, like many people do on YouTube or TikTok? Though some lineages say it is good to sing the mantras, personally I believe the main purpose of making them into songs is to make them more appealing to the general public. As for my lineage, generally we don't sing the mantras. However, there is at least one mantra we play by bamboo flute, which I will talk about later. Since most of my students are interested in self-healing, let me teach you a mantra for this. While Qigong is very effective in dealing with chronic and degenerative diseases, some sicknesses cannot be healed by conventional medicine or Qi. We call this karma sickness. Let me give you some examples. One time during a visit to my master's place, he asked whether I would like to teach his friend some Qigong practice for his headache. Then he said Qigong could only give him some relief because his headache was caused by his karma and would likely last for another 3 to 4 years. Sometimes, even if you are just suffering from a curable disease, your karma may cause doctors to misdiagnose you repeatedly. Or you might finally get an appointment with the best healer in the world, but on that day, the healer may have food poisoning or some other issue, drastically reducing their healing power, making the session seem ineffective. Almost anything that cannot be healed by conventional medicine or Qi can be called karma sickness. Something that you are destined to suffer for a period to repay your karmic debt. In light of this, the medicine Buddha was very compassionate to those suffering from this karmic debt, so he made a vow to help them. His help differs from that of Amitabha, the Buddha of infinite light, who provides refuge for souls after they die. Instead, medicine Buddha helped those while they are still alive. According to the sutras, Amitabha's Pure Land is at the west end of the universe, while medicine Buddha's is located at the opposite end. So how do we invoke the medicine Buddha? Different schools and lineages have different methods. In Tibetan practice, one typically recites the medicine Buddha mantra while visualizing his image and inviting him to enter and unite with the body. For our lineage, we never use this kind of visualization because you never truly know what you are inviting into your body, which could be dangerous. Our mantra also slightly different. The Tibetan one is Deyata Om Baganse Baganse Maha Baganse Vaja Samui Kate Soha. They use only the core of the mantra. The full mantra in Sanskrit is Namo Bhagavate Vaishaja Guru Vaiduvya Prabha Rajaya Tadagataya Arahate Sammak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Om Vaishaja 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 Samuikate Swaha. The first part of the mantra is like paying homage and stating the full name of the medicine Buddha. It can be translated as homage to the blessed medicine Guru, the king of the Vaiduvya light. It is important to remember this Vaiduvya light. The Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly and completely awakened Buddha. The second part is the core of the mantra. Typically, it is not necessary to know its meaning, but I'm sure many of you are curious. Tathagata means the mantra says Om, which appears at the start of many mantras, is often said to be the sound of the universe. This is true, but also depending on which part of the universe you refer to. From my understanding, it also acts as a vibration to activate the head, similar to turn on a radio tower before sending out the signals. The signal itself is Beisaje, Beisaje, Beisaja, Samuikate Swaha, which means medicine, medicine, the great medicine, perfecto. In Buddhist mantras, repeated words has special meaning. For example, in the Heart Sutra mantra, Tathagata Kate Kate Prara Kate Prarasang Kate Buddhi Swaha. The word Kate repeats a few times, here meaning go, going, gone, arrived at the other shore. In the medicine Buddha mantra, Beisaje means medicine, which again repeated 3 times. So it means medicine. The medicine is coming. Yeah, I have received the great medicine. If you find it difficult to remember the entire mantra, you can recite just the second part, starting from Tathagata, or even from Om. It does not matter whether you chant in Tibetan or Sanskrit. It is just similar to how people call my name. My friends and family in Hong Kong call me Zhang. My Mandarin-speaking friends call me Zhang. And my students who don't speak Chinese call me Zhang, Zhang, Zhong. All of this, despite all these variations, I still recognize they are calling me. So how do you recite this mantra to heal karma sickness? In China, a common practice is to place the medication or supplements, herbs, or beneficial food in front of you and rapidly chant this mantra for 20 to 30 minutes before consuming them. This method is particularly effective for health issues related to the middle dantian and below, because chanting rapidly generates strong vibration in the lower chakras. In our lineage, we prefer to chant the mantra slowly, making it more meditative. You will find it is easier to be mindful when chanting either very fast or very slow. We also generate a chant from the head, as the head functions like a radio tower's antenna. If you have learned to sing, you know sound can be generated from the head, the throat, chest, or abdomen. Here, we use the head sound. If you are truly mindful and dedicated to your practice, you will be able to connect with the medicine Buddha and see the Vaidurya light, which is a deep blue color. You can then direct this light to problem areas. However, in my experience, the light will automatically enter your body and performing healing. Even if you connect with the medicine Buddha's blue healing light once, do not expect complete healing. You must repeat the practice consistently to strengthen the connection. When enough Vaidurya light accumulates, you will not only be healed, but the light will condense into a Dan medicine. This time will shine with blue Vaidurya light and provide healing to those who cross your path. You will naturally become a healer, healing in a Wu-Wei way. Those who have practiced solar qigong will find this similar to the level 2 meditation, where the entire body is visualized as transparent and radiating blue light from the middle dantian. Remember, to establish an initial connection, you typically need to chant the mantra a few 100,000 times. Practitioners who can only afford 1 to 2 hours of daily practice may take decades to consolidate the Vaidurya light into the blue Dan. Another way to establish a faster connection is to understand and align your heart with the vows of the Buddha, Bodhisattva, or deities. This creates deep resonance. Let me share another famous Zen story. During the Song dynasty, society became more conservative, and women faced greater oppression. During this period, Guan Yin, the Bodhisattva of compassion, transformed from a male figure into a motherly figure to align with the compassionate qualities of a mother. Of course, this is without a transgender operation. At the Buddha or Bodhisattva level, there is no gender. They have no physical form and can manifest as anything. Originally, Buddhism and Taoism had no images of these supreme beings. Images were later created to make the teaching more accessible to the public. Under this historical background, Guan Yin became especially popular among female practitioners. One lady practiced reciting Guan Yin's name, Namo Amituofo. However, whenever her husband passed by and heard her chanting, he would call her name Jing Jing. Annoyed, she would ask, "What?" But he would just walk away without answering. This happened repeatedly over a long period, and she never felt a connection with Guan Yin. Story ended. So what does this story try to tell us? When we recite the mantra, we are invoking the Buddha, Bodhisattva, or deities associated with the mantra. It's just like someone constantly calling your name. The word Guan Yin means listening or observing the sound, particularly the sounds of suffering, and showing compassion. Imagine a few million people calling you daily. Even if you answered, many wouldn't get it. You need immense compassion to handle all this. Clearly, the lady in the story lacked this same aspiration as Guan Yin, as she got annoyed easily and didn't exhibit compassionate qualities. So what is Medicine Buddha's aspiration? Before I tell you this, let me share another story. Last year, my master sensed that one of the students would encounter some troubles, so he assigned her homework to find out the Sanskrit pronunciation of Medicine Buddha mantra. However, the student forgot about it, and a few months later, she indeed ran into trouble. You might think it was health-related, but in reality, it was financial and legal issues. Many of you may be surprised. Why the Medicine Buddha mantra then? Well, the vows of Medicine Buddha extend beyond healing physical and mental suffering. They also include relieving poverty and hunger and providing material and spiritual abundance. In other words, he aims to alleviate physical sufferings so that the practitioners can have a stable environment and a healthy body to focus on spiritual advancement to slowly repay their karmic debt. So you see, there are many benefits to practice this mantra. In the last newsletter, I promised to teach you something to protect yourself during these turbulent times. As you may have guessed, it is a mantra. Nama Samadha Buddhanam Om Marichi Swaha. This mantra invokes the Bodhisattva Marichi, mainly for protection. Again, different traditions have slight variation of this mantra. Marichi is one of the most widely revered deities across different Asian religions. In Hinduism and Jainism, Marichi appears as a male figure. In Buddhism and Taoism, she is depicted as a goddess. During the Song dynasty, when the Mongols invaded China, the emperor had to flee. One night, while hiding in a forest surrounded by Mongolian soldiers, he chanted this mantra. Surprisingly, the soldiers did not find him, allowing him to escape south and continue ruling. Because of this incident, he became a devotee to Marichi and built many temples dedicated to her, making her worship widespread during that time. Probably around this period, Taoists also incorporate Marichi into their system, naming her Taobo, the mother of Deepers, a celestial deity who governs the stars and maintains cosmic balance. Interestingly, the country with the most temples or shrines dedicated to Marichi today is Japan. This is because Marichi is often depicted wielding a wild boar, symbolizing her swift and fearless nature. She embodies light, dawn, and the ability to remain unseen, serving as a mythical force guiding and protecting practitioners in times of peril. This makes the Marichi mantra widely practiced among ninjas and also samurais. So how do you practice it? This mantra should be chanted quickly, because in moments of danger or emergency, you need to invoke Marichi's protection urgently. Just like when you call 911, 112, or 999. People tend to speak faster and to the point, wanting immediate help. By chanting it rapidly, this mantra's vibration is particularly effective in opening the heart and throat chakras, clearing blockages in these areas. So you should generate the sound from your throat and chest cavity. This practice may also generate heat in your body. This mantra not only offers protection, but also instills courage when facing adversaries. It is especially beneficial for those with weak souls. People who get easily shaken when confronted with loud or angry voices. Like almost all guardian deities, Marichi is also a warrior goddess, often depicted holding weapons in both Taoist and Buddhist traditions. There are indeed mudras and variations of this mantra for subduing demonic beings. But I'm not teaching this, and I hope none of you will need them. So this is another function of this mantra. There are indeed quite a few mantras that you chant not only for yourself, but for others, or even other beings. For example, the Medicine Buddha mantra. When you are able to connect with the Vaiduya light, at the end of the chanting session, you can dedicate that healing light to someone who is suffering. Let me share a story related to this. Back in 2016, while I was teaching in India, my master asked if I could buy him a bansuri, an Indian bamboo flute. So I asked one of my students for help, and he got me two. Between the two workshops in India, I visited a Krishna temple. Near the temple's core, a man was sitting and playing the bansuri. There were quite a lot of people around, but he waved at me, invited me to sit beside him, and played a song just for me. I assumed he was a performer, so afterward I tried to offer him some money, but he refused, saying, "It is from God." When I returned and gave my master the bansuris, I shared the story with him. He told me that the man had initiated me into playing sacred music with a bamboo flute and handed me one of the bansuris. When I got home, I tried to play it but couldn't even produce a sound, so I just put it aside. A few months later, my master asked if I could play the bansuri yet, and I told him no. He then sent me a few YouTube tutorials on how to play and even provided me with the music sheet for a mantra, encouraging me to give it a try. He said, "Don't worry about whether it sounds good or not. If it makes some sound, that's enough. The most important thing is to infuse it with your spiritual energy." Without asking anything, I knew this was my assigned homework, so I taught myself to play the liberation mantra. I even brought the flute along on my next world teaching tour. A few of you may have heard me playing and knew that I wasn't very good at it. Somehow, right from the start, I already sensed that I wasn't meant to play the mantra for myself or for any other humans. So I usually play it only in the wilderness when I'm alone. However, during this world tour, after my Turkish retreat, some students took me to a beautiful beach to watch the sunset. At that moment, without hesitation, I took out the flute and played the liberation mantra. A student even recorded a video, and then I sent it to my master. His only comment was, "Wow, so many ghosts." Then I learned from my students that area had been one of the deadliest battlefields of World War I. There are always some who died without realizing they are dead, because their consciousness degrades after leaving the physical body. These spirits often remain trapped in the place where they perished, endlessly repeating their final actions until they awaken and move on. Hopefully, my playing of the liberation mantra helped some of them find their way. After that teaching tour, my master told me I had completed my homework and no longer needed to practice that mantra. though if I enjoyed playing flute, I could continue. Finally, there are secret mantras too. All the mantras I've mentioned in this video are openly available and can be practiced by anyone. However, in some lineages, there are secret mantras that can only be passed down from the master to the disciple. Even if someone somehow obtains these mantras, they will have no effect without the master's initiation. I hope you find this video interesting. As I mentioned in the last newsletter, this 2 to 3 year period will bring rapid and drastic changes, which could be troublesome for many. The Medicine Buddha and Marichi mantras are powerful tools that you can incorporate into your daily practice for healing and protection. Stay safe, everyone.